Sniper or the Assassin specialization DPS spec for Swords of Legends Online. Now, one of you in the previous video, which by the way, thank you all for all the likes and whatnot on that video, that was actually a lot bigger of a reaction than I was expecting, suggested that they would see some assassination gameplay, basic rotation, and so on and so forth. The build that I'm going to show you is kind of the bread and butter. It's one of the more basic specs. You can't really go wrong with it. There's definitely a second variation of playstyle and whatnot. I'm going to be going over the Moth Poison variant with Moonset. Now, some people like the other set more, the other specialization more than this one. Personally, I feel like for beginner players and even for advanced players, this specialization, running these blessings right here, are going to take you pretty far, regardless. And if you wanted to experiment with something more advanced in the future, I'm sure when more gear comes out, new updates, stats will be changed, and there will be a new build to not invalidate this one, but possibly change it to a degree that you should probably look into. So we're going to be running Moth Poison, which allows you to have, keeps it at 3 stacks of your Heart Eater. It's very important that when you start a fight with your Heart Eater, you get Moth Poison passives stacking up on top of that, because it extends to the max duration, but it can't be reset. Moonset is going to be a major damage dealing passive as well, so the idea is to stack up as much Heart Eater, or as quickly, put Heart Eater on the target as quickly as possible, and then use Moonlet to increase the damage on the target for itself. Moving over to Knights and Lantern, you're going to want this one over, in my opinion, the Rhyme Moth Lamp, because the increased cooldown, it's just not something I'm a fan of. But it is a very nice damage bonus. Honestly, you could swap these two out. I just prefer Knight's End because I want the 10% extra crit on top of that, because I'm going to be going a crit variant for my Assassin build. But realistically, you should probably run this passive, Rhyme Moth Lamp. It increases the damage of your War Moon, even in PvP, by a great amount, and the damage of Heart Eater after you use Wheel of Frost. So as soon as you pop Wheel of Frost, regardless of how much damage you do, you get 15%, or 15 seconds of all of these buffs that you see right here. However, once it ends, you actually do reduce damage, so you have to like play around the timing of when you pop Wheel of Frost. That's too much thinking for me. I'm a big old idiot, so I prefer Knight's End's Lantern. If you finalize your rotation, you could probably get more out of Rhyme Moth for sure. I want to be the big, slow, dumb DPS idiot running with Knight's Lantern. Then moving on, we have Maggot Awakening. As long as you're, the core of your abilities, Moth Poison and Heart Eater, deal damage, you're going to get HP back. It's like, you get energy on your edge, which is going to be your primary spending resource to generate initiative. So, honestly, this is by far and away better than Marionette, in my opinion. Especially for clearing content out in the open world, right? You can even solo world bosses if you get enough gear. At least until more people show up, because you'd be there for hours, regardless. And then Life or Death. There's no question about this. Life or Death is probably one of the best abilities that you could use in the game for DPS as a whole. It's just something you put on. Think of it as like an invisible dot. It doesn't do any damage, but it tracks damage that you do with your War Moon. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, all that fun shit. Now going into glyphs, nothing too crazy. Green Haze, we just get, extra HP. Wheel of Frost does more damage. Voodoo for extra initiative, but the big one is Difficult Journey. You're actually able to stack up your initiatives past 5. This is a very big source of damage for the Assassin. So, I'm not going to make this video too long. I know you guys don't like the long videos. So, moving on, we're going to just go over the rotation. Now, a lot of people mess this up, and I want to stress this. Especially if you're running with Life and Death with Moonset, it's important that you start off with this. You're going to want to pop your Spectral Phantom first, before your tank pulls and before you get into combat, because you're going to want to immediately pop Dustbringer right before it. So the idea is you pop your duplicate, and if you don't like being teleported back, there's actually a glyph that you can pick up for free. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Not avert death. Not avert disaster. It's where'd it go? There it is. Soul Annihilation. That's the one you're gonna want to pick up. Where is the other free one? Avert disaster. So this Soul Annihilation. If you don't like being reverted back to your previous position, so you keep maximum uptime on the boss, you can pick up Soul Annihilation, so you don't actually teleport back to your original position. I like not having this, just in case there's some, bad stuff that you in the boss's radius that I can't stand in. I can teleport back, and then using Moonshade, which is going to be part of our rotation, and it's going to be reset because we're using Spectral Phantom and Dustbringer and all that fun stuff. You can actually just get right back into the fight without too much loss of downtime. It's just a flair that I like having. So, for the meat and potatoes of the video, here's going to be the opening rotation. You're going to pop Spectral Phantom into Dustbringer and immediately cast Heart Eater, right? Now, I'm probably going to mess this up. I just woke up, and I promised somebody that I have a video out, which was probably stupid of me, but we're going to do it anyway. So if I'm not going to run this perfectly, but this is going to be generally the opening rotation. A lot of Reaper DPS players who min-max this class are going to hate me for this, but this is what I end up doing. And I believe it should be the basis for the Reaper class. I'm primarily primarily a healer, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. I take criticism pretty well. Alright, so let's pop your Spectral Phantom to save your hotbar. Essentially, you pop this to save all the cooldowns and stuff that you have. Then you pop Dustbringer, immediately charge in with a Heart Eater, put your life and death on, and then start holding down right click. Stack up, and as soon as you hit max initiative, just spam the ever-living hell out of War Moon. Then, right before your Dustbringer, or as soon as your Dustbringer comes back up, pop it again, retreat back, charge back in with Moonshade, reapply your life or death, and then keep casting War Moon. And this is it. Now, depending on how lucky you are with stacks and whatnot, with stacking up your edge on the target and popping War Moon with your initiative, this is generally the layman's term of how to play a Reaper DPS. And occasionally, at the end of your rotation, that's when you're going to pop your life or death. When you're in PvP, you're going to want to do it more often, but you're going to be running a separate build for PvP. This is strictly for PvE, but the same concepts still apply. You're going to want to make sure that while you want to maximize your Dustbringer as much as possible. Now, right there, I did 2k DPS, and it bursted up to 2.3k because I used Wheel of Frost. Wheel of Frost is that hidden, hey, my DPS number is really low, let me just hit one button to boost it up a little bit. That's what Wheel of Frost does. Now, it'll automatically, it'll automatically cure stacks, regardless of what damage type that you're doing, either be your left click or right click. I found that if you're really lucky, because of the initiative stacking from your passives of your Ancestral Blessing and your glyphs, your opening rotations, you do not have to worry about doing any sort of left click. You could just hold down right click, and if you're lucky enough, there is a little bit of RNG to this class if with this build, based off of initiative stacking at the speed of which you're doing it, but you do have a passive gain of initiative because of Dustbringer, so you can kind of play around that a little bit. I'm going to show off the rotation one more time, just in case y'all missed it. It is kind of quick. It is rough. This is a very high skill cap class. And thankfully, this rotation is the same as the AoE rotation, in my opinion. It's just incredibly important that you keep your moonset stacked up as high as possible, and you're using War Moon as often as you can with life or death up. Life or death is very, very strong with Moth Poison. So if you're going to run life or death, you should definitely run Moth Poison because there's a 25% damage increase. There's not too much wiggle room in terms of your first blessing and your last blessing. However, these, other than Moonset, like, you can argue probably Resting State, but you can't really run Resting State if you're running Moth Poison to begin with, because this negates all extensions of Heart Eater. So Resting State doesn't really do anything. Now, you can run Resting State if you were running 1,000 Broken Hearts, because it's stacked to 4 times, which then you're playing off of stack your debuff by 4 times, and then increase your War Moon damage by 42%. I mean, there's some wiggle room. Some people like running this build. I don't. I'd rather just throw my dots on and forget about it. Less thinking, more damage, more damage on the target. More button pressing, harder butter. Yeah, I can't talk. I'm sorry, guys. All right, so my cooldowns are back up. I'm ready to go, so I'm not gonna accidentally target the wrong thing in the middle of that fight, or at least face the wrong target. So one last time, here comes rotation. We're gonna pop Spectral, Dustbringer, in flight after we cast Moonshade. We're going to cast Heart Eater if it'll register. Life or Death while holding down right click, because you can use your right click while casting Life or Death. It should apply. Then we are going to open up with the rest of our rotation. So here we go. And this is the part where you start slowing down, your opener starts going away, you lose your 10% increased damage from being in stealth and whatnot, and it just ends up becoming really annoying to fight against. So you just have to run around using Moonlight and your left click to generate your resources. I don't like it, because you have to wait till your edge builds up, and then you have to build it all back up again. That's essentially the rotation opening up, and then you're just going to cast your... I almost got 3k right there. That's actually pretty nice, considering that I'm not in the right gear set, essentially. There's better stats you can pick up for DPS. We're not going to move on to stats for the class. Personally, I'm going to run Mastery Perception. Perception, you can kind of consider it like hit rating, except instead of missing your attack, the enemy just does 70% reduced damage randomly. The lower this perception against your target, so against Student 6 level enemies, there's a 74% chance that they will perceive your attack, and you will do 70% less damage. You don't have to worry about the stat in PvP, but in PvE, you're going to want to make sure you're always hitting the target from behind, standard MMO shit, hit him from behind, get your perception up. You're going to cap out your perception pretty quick, so after you go from Mastery to Perception, this hits 100% for boss targets, because I believe the enemies in the raid that's coming out on Thursday is going to be Student 6, I believe, or maybe they're Student 4. I'm not so sure. I don't have the correct information for that. If I do find out, I'll put it in the comments below. Followed behind that, I'm personally going to go more Haste, because Haste actually has a lot of unique qualities, because it reduces skill cooldowns. But most importantly for the Assassin, it increases edge generation, but also War Moon casting speed. So the animation of War Moon coming down is faster. So with more haste, that's actually accumulating a lot more. I don't want to stack crit. I'm already at 30% crit, and some of the haste pieces of gear will have crit on it as well, specifically for DPS. I'm not too concerned about the crit hit rate, because we get 10% increase on top of that with Wheel of Frost. So you can play around with stats for a little bit. I think we already have a really high crit rate base as it is. So I would go Mastery, Perception to cap out at 100% for whatever target you're hitting. Depending on the level of the raid bosses, you're going to need more or less, and then go into Complete Haste. And of course, Physical Attack as well for your main stat. Physical Attack on all these pieces is going to be one of your biggest damage dealing increases. More so than Agility, keep that in mind. The main stats right here They help, but they are not the sole focus. Like, you do get increased. It's like splitting your focus between two separate stats. If you want just more damage, just focus purely on physical attack. If you need more crit, focus purely on crit rate. Most of the time, you don't have to worry about primary stats. Now, in terms of soul gems, I've got obviously my DPS is lower because I have healing soul gems on, because this is really my healing gear. I don't have a DPS set yet. But I would trade these two pieces out and keep these Lotus Fragrance set. I mean, it's not the best set for DPS, but it will get the job done for raids for sure. Along with the class abilities and the weapons, you could probably get a better weapon than Swan's Grace, I believe. Hold on, let me look over to... Yeah, so you're actually going to want this one instead, Wonderment of the Heavens. This is actually going to be your DPS weapon. You'll have to save up 400 parchment unless you get lucky and this drops from a box. But this is the weapon you're going to be wanting to run instead. Yeah, mine has perception level on it. That's really nice, but the increased physical strength is more important. For Soul Force that you get from your Soul Force boxes, which I have to go pick up some of mine. And if you watch my PvE guide video, you know where to pick those up. If you don't, link will be in the description below or in that eye marker at the top right, if I remember to do that. You're going to want to start with Solid Ice Rune. This has a long cooldown. All the DPS ones do. But this is going to be the first soul gem that you're going to be rocking for sure. And then you are going to want to level this up to at least level 2. I don't know if it's the same percentage scaling as it is for Spring Rain, but this, you will notice the proc, and it will do a very strong amount of damage. The only problem with this one is that you can't control which abilities this Soul Force will attach itself to. It could be your right click, it could be your left click, it could be Life or Death, or even Wheel of Frost. Unless there's some hidden triggers baked inside of the Soul Force gem that I don't know about, you can't really control. You can't control which damage type this is going to be modified by 25%. You hope it's going to be Life or Death, but it could end up just being War Moon or your right click. I don't know the specific answers on that. I haven't been able to find any information on that. But I do know that when Solid Ice Rune hits, it is a very big DPS increase. And the other one, I'm going to have to go pick up a box real quick so I can show y'all. Wait one. For your second Soul Force gem for DPS, I would run Rolling Waves. It is on a 3-minute cooldown. But 100% of 150% of max HP damage is actually pretty strong. And again, you can't really choose to trigger these abilities. However, I do believe Rolling Waves is actually an AoE Soul Force gem, so even for AoE targets, not just single target, the Rolling Waves is going to be your best bet. You can run Break Matrix Formation. The best one is Solid Ice Rune by far, but Break Matrix is kind of a CC bar break. So below enemies bar is that yellow bar, and if you use a golden shell effect, which is just, interrupting a cast time or anything that breaks that bar down a little bit, it's going to be increased by another 2%. It's not super great because once they're above 90%, in my opinion, this doesn't really do anything. So in terms of raw DPS, I would just run Solid Ice Rune and Rolling Waves. And if you pick up 2 Soul Force gems chests like this, you can actually upgrade this immediately to level 2 by using 2 of these chests back to back. That's pretty much going to be it. The only thing I'm going to go over real quick is the Astral Essence. You're going to want as many points as possible. And again, depending on the amount of perception that we need, you're going to want to head up towards perception 1%, while also picking up Great Fire. This is just a flat 5% damage increase to everything that you're attacking. And this Total Darkness, you don't really have to run this one unless you don't trust your healers, which that's a whole nother problem entirely. I would go with Perception 1 and then probably go into, if you have enough points, go into crit hit damage, or if you wanted to, where is it at? There you go. 8% more haste. This is stackable, by the way. So if you haven't hit like a haste break cap yet, you can even go all the way down to Lupus. But first, I would go all the way up to Hubin to get your perception percentage up, because again, it does kind of act like hit percentage if you ever played World of Warcraft. But depending on the raid boss's level, this may or may not be worth it, and you can respec anytime. So I would jump all the way down to either haste, or if you can make it all the way to no, what's that? King's for no, where's it at? Oh, no, never mind. It was boots. My bad. Go over to the crit hit damage, because this stacks up to 9%. And we already have a high crit rate, so you'll actually see an immediate DPS increase per point that you put into here. Obviously, pick up Great Fire too. It's just 5% flat damage. That's pretty much going to be it for the Reaper DPS class. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you again for all the likes and whatnot. I am not, full disclosure at the end here, I am not a DPS Reaper main. There's a very good chance that some of the information I have given you is not efficient enough to warrant usage. Someone down below in the comments will definitely correct me. But this is the overall basics of the class if you just wanted to pick up the class and just run with it, see how you like it. And if that's not something for you, you could try the healing spec. I personally love the healing spec on it, especially with my new Soul Force gems that I've got installed onto it. It just, it's great. If there's other classes that you want me to see, I'm currently working on leveling a couple of different ones, although I'm taking my time because New World is out. If there is something else you want to see, just let me know in the comments. I'll let you know if that's going to be possible in the near future. If not, thank you guys for watching. I've got some New World content coming out here in the next few hours, the couple days or so. So I appreciate any subscriptions and whatnot that you guys have for me. The support recently has been fantastic, and I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So you guys have a good one, and again, feel free, any questions, post them in the comments. I'll do my best I can to answer them. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later, everyone.